All right, it's 12:30, so I will begin with the presentation. Uh, Many of you hopefully saw that I feel pretty strongly about the certification program. And I think a lot of people have concerns and fears, and they really just don't know and understand all about what the Society of Broadcast Engineers brings when it comes to a certification. Um, my understanding from a lot of you is that you don't know what to expect. You don't know the materials that you really need. And we keep hearing from people who have been certified that it's really easy if you've been in the industry long enough. It's really not a big deal. And if you get to take a look at the link I shared, Megan Clappe, who's going to be speaking with us today, as the certification director from the SBE. She gets a lot of accolades for her dedication to this effort of the certification program. So we've got someone that's very passionate about it. She is a fellow and she's not a broadcast engineer, so she's done her fair share and really helping us. So I had asked Megan almost a month ago, hey, I think it'd be great if you could demystify the certification program and just show us how easy it is. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to Megan.
Thank you very much for those kind words too. If none of you know me, I'm Megan Clappe, formerly Mega Clappe. If you were here for the first part of this event, I misspelled my name. So I have been with SBE for almost 21 years. This in September will be 21 years. And I've been the certification director since 2006. Linda Bond was my predecessor, so some of you may know her if you've been here for a while. I tend to jump around a lot, so you can always stop me if I'm not making sense or if you need me to clarify something. If you have any questions, jump in. I don't like presentations. I don't do well with that. Again, probably because I jump around a lot. So I'm just going to kind of talk about it. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. And here we go. So as Mike said, a lot of what I hear about from people who want to take a test to get certified is that they're concerned about failing the test and they're concerned about what content is on the exam. That honestly, that's kind of hard for me because the way that the certification program was created and has almost totally happened the last 40 plus years that it's been around is that the exam questions are written by broadcast engineers who are in the industry doing the work. They do not create questions from text, from the internet, from other sources. They might, take some SEC standards. They might review a book or anything, but the majority of the questions are taken from their own experiences. And so therefore it gets hard to say, please read this book and check out this website and you'll have all the content for the exam. So that's why if you have spoken with someone who has previously taken an exam, then they probably will say, I knew the majority of the information that was on there because it's something that I do from day to day. The majority of the exams are 50 multiple choice questions, and the majority of those have always been open book. So you're able to take in as many books as you would like. In, I believe, 2017, we did a year-long beta testing with allowing the internet for the exams, and the results came back, and it was basically that if you don't know the content, then no level of Googling is going to allow you to pass the exam. You have to be doing the job to know where to look for the information, be able to obtain the answer to answer the question correctly. So again, those exams, you're allowed to bring in books, you're allowed to bring in notes, and you're allowed to have access to the internet. So again, the committee wanted to kind of bring real world situations into it. There are some certification exams that have an essay component to them, which again is kind of scary in some areas because again, that's some we don't really have anything to say study this information, and that's what's going to be on the essay questions. What typically happens is that a committee member will review your experience and try to assign essay questions that correspond with what you have been, your experience has been in. So for some of the tests, again, I'm jumping around, I'm sorry. We have some old articles from the Signal that kind of try to demystify the essay question portion a little bit, and I can always send those to you. They were once on the website, but I think have since been taken off. But yeah, sorry. Does anybody have any questions as of right now?
Had to unmute. So you're saying in the Signal, you guys addressed this once upon a time, and I could get a copy of that from you?
We did. There are a number of, I think 3 or 4 articles that were written. One of them was from a perspective of how to complete an essay question. So for instance, make sure you read the question, make sure that you answer all the questions that it's asked, make sure that it's as legible as possible, which for me is very hard. I have horrible handwriting, but make sure it's as legible as possible and just take your time to complete it. And again, answering, sometimes it's just a straight, like, describe a block diagram of A, B, C, and D. Make sure that you do that. Others, it is, there will be literally make a question and A, B, C, D, and E. Make sure that you answer all of those on there. Some of them are short, some of them can be long. And honestly, and then that's graded separately. So let me try and, again, maybe I should have a presentation. So we have entry-level certifications. We have a 5-year level certification, a 10-year, and a 20-year level certification. Those are based on your years of broadcast engineering experience in the industry. So if you have no experience, then you can apply for any of the entry level and you will be approved to take those tests. If you have a minimum of 5 years, you have the 5-year level, and 10-year, the 10-year level. As an associate's or a bachelor's degree in an applied area can count 2 or 4 years towards those 5 or 10-year of experience. And then from there, you can jump in wherever you would like. If you have 10 years of experience, but you don't feel comfortable taking a 10-year test, you can jump in at an entry level or a 5-year and go from there. It's just kind of whatever you're comfortable with and where you want to go. So the entry level certifications, there's 2 operator tests. Those are unique and where there are actual books that you purchase. It's a radio or television operator. You purchase the book, study from the book, and then there's a card in the back of the book that you send in that redeems the test. It also has the proctor's information on there. And that exam is 50 multiple choice questions. It's open, or it's closed book, and you're given 1 hour to take the test. But the handbook that you had has all the information. So as long as you've studied that, then you have all the content that is going to be in the exam. And there's about 70 sample questions in the back of that book too, for you to kind of get an idea of what to expect. Those 2 tests are unique because that's what we have. That's the only way that that program there works. The other exams, like I mentioned earlier, are we don't really have anything to specify, study this, and you'll be good to go for the exam. We have what we call our Cert Preview, which is our sample test software. It's meant to give you an idea of what to expect on the exam. There are a lot more actual database questions than there are for the Cert Preview. So again, it's meant to give you a sampling, kind of give you an area of where you might be lacking and therefore want to study up on or get a book or something along the lines to help you in the exam to study for that. Cert Preview that we have right now is a download. It is kind of clunky. We have been in the process of creating a web-based software for the last 2 to 3 years. We are in the final stages of that. It will be much more user-friendly. When we make updates to questions, it'll happen immediately, whereas before you would have to know to re-download the software. And again, we're in the final stages. Hopefully, I keep on saying in the next couple weeks to a month, it should be available. And so we will advertise the heck out of it once it is available. If you have purchased a Cert Preview within, I believe, the last 6 months, you will get automatic access to that without having to repurchase it or anything. So again, that is what we specifically offer to try to give an idea of what to expect on the exam. And then from there are a number of webinars that could be helpful, but unfortunately, the webinars that the education program creates are not, they don't necessarily discuss anything with the certification committee to say, give me content here so I can produce it for you guys here. So again, there's a lot of webinars that could be helpful. And being a member plus allows you access to those without having to pay for them individually, which is for a wonderful way to add to your SBE membership. When you go onto the website and look through the different certifications and decide which one you wanted to take, you would fill out the corresponding application and send it in to me. It goes through an approval process. Upon approval, you would be signed up for an exam with your local chapter, assuming that you have a chapter certification chairman, which both chapters do there. So you would be notified that you're scheduled for that exam. They would get your contact information about 3 weeks prior to the exam, and the certification chairman would reach out to schedule that test with you. The exam is on paper. It's mailed out to them. All of the tests, except for the operator tests that will have 50 multiple choice questions, will be 3 hours, and will be open book, notes, and internet access is allowed. If there's an essay question, which is any of our specialist certifications, the 2 10-year certification and a networking engineer certification, there'll be essays associated with that. It depends on what certification it is, how many essays you receive. You only do one out of whatever you've received. You only complete one of them. You just read through, decide which one you want to complete, finish it, and then send it in. That's, again, 3 hours total for all of that. The exams without an essay question at 70% pass rate. You have to, 15, sorry, I can't do the math. I think it's 15 questions that you have to fail in order to not pass. If you don't pass the test, nobody knows, only me. So we send out pass-fail results. We don't ever send out scores. You'll be notified if you passed or if you failed. If you fail, you have an opportunity to take a retest. It's $36, and we can get that scheduled for you. You can take it with the original proctor, or if you wish not to, then we can try and find a special proctor for you. People don't pass the test. It's okay. It doesn't mean, I kind of think that you have a little bit of a better opportunity by retaking the test, because you have a better idea of what content is on the exam too. So I think that's in some ways a better opportunity for you. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions right now? Sorry, I'm going over a lot of information.
No, this has answered a lot of my questions. You just did in the past 5 minutes. So you told us that I was wondering who evaluates the written essay. So we know that now. And we do see from time to time a reference maybe from the SBE website of suggested books. They never specify the targeted exams they're good for, but you provide that.
So what this is like one plea that I would make to anybody that has taken a test, or anybody out there, yeah, who has taken a test, is if you utilized a book when studying for or taking the test and you thought that it was helpful, send it to me, reach out, let me know, and let me know what test it was for, because that was something that I tried a long time ago, was to try and find books to correspond to the certification exams, and it just never panned out. It was not, didn't receive a lot of feedback with that. I did mention the committee members grade the essay questions, but I didn't kind of mention how that happens. So it's the essay question is sent to 3 members of the certification committee for them to grade. They grade it based on their own experience and some areas that they have. Sorry, words are hard. And then an average of that is taken. That average is added to your multiple choice, and both of those have to equal 84% or higher in order for you to pass those exams that have essay components to them. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you still have the preview tests available for some of the certifications?
Yep, I mentioned that just a little bit ago.
You
So
did? Okay,
sorry
I
to
missed that. I'm
everyone.
sorry.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. Sorry to everyone to listen to that again. We have our current version of the Cert Preview. It is a download. It is clunky because it's older, meaning that when you're downloading it, you typically run into an install issue. I have a fix for it, but again, it's clunky. We are coming out with a web-based program. It has been in the works for the last few years, and it should be available in the next couple weeks to a month at the most, hopefully. And some of you might be thinking, why the heck does it take 3 years to come up with a program? And that's because, sorry, Tina, if you had a question, I'll get to you in just a second. And that is because our committee, I am the only paid person on staff. Our committee is made up of volunteers, as many of you know how the chapters work. That's how our committees work as well. And so to go through all the questions, to write new questions, to vet them, to then getting into the program, to write new certification exams. I mean, we've had the ATSC 3. We actually have 2 new entry-level certifications that are coming out, as well as improving on some of the other stuff. It just takes time, and especially when you're working with someone that has their own life and their own job and everything else, to try and fit that in there. And so that's typically why a lot of things get delayed, is because we're just working with people that are volunteering their time. I don't do that, so I very much appreciate that people do. Tina, did you have a question?
I did, but thank you so much for this. Like, this has answered so many of our other questions, and this has been really valuable. So I'm so glad that you're doing this for us.
Good.
So around COVID-ish time, I had bought the books for radio and TV operator, and then of course never had a chance to take the tests. Do those prepaid tests expire, or is there something special I have to do to, like, do I just like reschedule? Like, how does that part work?
Technically they do, but if I try to work, I don't care. I try to work around that. So assuming you have the newest versions, which I believe you do from that time, you would just need to fill out the cards. Did you purchase the paper book or the digital?
Paper.
Do you still have the cards intact from the back?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yep,
Should I just reach out to you? We can make sure I even have the newest versions and.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So if that's the case, you just need to fill out the cards. Again, reach out to me. I'm just saying this for everybody else's purpose.
Okay.
Fill out the cards, send it in. For the operator test, we do things a little bit differently too when it comes to proctors. It does, you can opt for a different proctor other than the chapter certification chairman. That can be typically somebody that works at a station who's a master control operator or higher, a testing center, a librarian, a clergy person, an HR person.
Okay.
So if you don't want to, if you want to do it at a different time or a quicker time period, then we can usually utilize that as your proctor and get things going a little bit quicker than the normal exam periods, which I did not mention. We do testing during normal exam times in February, June, August, and November. A lot of people, sometimes their jobs require them to take a test or to have a certification and need to take that test quicker or different than those time periods. And I can work with them, either with the certification chairman or finding a special proctor to do tests outside of those time periods also.
Is it possible to take both tests on the same day? Like, can we do TV and radio at the same time?
Yep. So
Okay.
they have to allot for those two tests. They have to allot 1 hour each, even if you don't take the full hour for each one. So they have to allot 2 hours total
Okay.
for that. But yes, that is possible as long as it's okay with the proctor.
Okay. And when they proctor, like our whole team is looking into doing certifications across our whole team. Like, can our whole team come and do them all at the same time? Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. They would have to purchase their own tests, obtain their own card, and send it in. But yeah, absolutely. We actually have like a large number of high schools and colleges that are starting to be required to hold some kind of certification. Excuse me. And they have been utilizing the handbooks and using them in like a school setting and everything, taking the test like that. So yes, it is possible to have them all take it at the same time with one proctor.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I thought I saw a question.
Megan, I was going to ask real quick, how up to date are the questions, like even for IT and other exams? I know there's been some talk. Just can you give us an idea of what might be what's upcoming for a replacement test, or what is starting to grow a little long at the tooth?
Yeah, so if you are old or current Cert Preview, there's going to be some old questions in there because it hasn't been updated as quickly as our actual database has, or the new version of Cert Preview. And again, part of that was the clunkiness of it and the downloading and everything to be updated. Specifically, the networking engineer and the networking technologist, those database questions have been updated, and in the new Cert Preview, they are as well. Wayne Pacina did a series of webinars back in 2022 into 2023, I think. And I think they are specifically labeled as like helpful study webinars for those two exams. I would suggest utilizing those right now for studying for that exam. And then when the new Cert Preview comes out, using that as well as potential like questions and everything. But that information has been updated. We're trying to update it again, utilizing volunteers, limits, how quickly some of that gets rewritten. I would also make a plea, if you guys are doing your day-to-day job and think, gosh, that'd be a really good question, write it down, send it in. It gets vetted through the committee, but it does go towards recertification credits. So that would be helpful as well, because we, again, are unique where we utilize engineers to write the questions from their own experience and not from a handbook. That was going to lead me into something else, but now I can't remember. Somebody prompts another question, that would be helpful.
Take your time, because you're giving us a lot of good information. Remember, we're recording this and other people are going to get to utilize it. It's really valuable info you're giving us. Thank you.
You're very sweet. I appreciate that. Sorry about jumping around. I thought there was a question that came in. It was like metrics or something for measuring the benefit of certification. I will say we conduct a compensation survey every year, probably for at least the last 5 years. And it has always come back with the results that if you hold a certification, you typically get paid more for that. Obviously, the amount changes and it varies per job too, but typically if you hold a certification, then that shows something to your employer and can be responded to in a compensation.
Definitely have some questions. Are you seeing our chat by chance?
I am not, sorry.
And hey, this is a great time to remind everyone that we're in a year where, and can you explain the recertification, the Diamond program?
Oh yeah, thank you. Gosh. Maybe you should be the
Okay.
certification director. So let me read this real quick. What is the process for recertification when credits expire? Do previous webinars and meeting attendance count towards continuing education credit? I did not mention the recertification at all. Let me mention that really quickly. Certification is good for 5 years. About 6 months prior to it expiring, I contact you with a letter saying it's about to expire. Here's what I need from you in order to recertify. The majority of the certifications recertify by profession. If you don't want to take the test, again, recertify by professional credits. That is a minimum of number of credits, which is usually 20 to 30 credits, depending on your certification, and a minimum of 4 categories. Typically, the ones that people utilize are employment, SBE membership, SBE chapter meetings, and going to NAB or other conferences and conventions, viewing the SBE Web Extra that we produce every month, or SBE webinars, or other industry webinars, or in-station factory schools, those types of things. You can get credits for. It's easier throughout the 5 years of your certification to keep some kind of record of it. I know that I say I'm going to remember something, and about 5 minutes later, I wonder what the heck I was trying to remember. So some people keep a file folder and write it down and throw it in there. We have an Excel spreadsheet that you're able to keep the records of. There is also a part on the website, although getting to it is a little tricky, but I can always explain it if somebody would like to find that on the website, where you can add that information on there too. So the chapter meetings that you attend, obviously, hopefully you remember your SBE membership and your employment, but if you don't, that's good to put it on there too. And then the different webinars, people tend to forget the various webinars and when they took them as well. Those all go towards that. You fill out the application, send it in, it goes to a committee member to review. They might have questions, they might not. And then you are hopefully renewed for 5 more years, where we'd ask you to keep that information again. If you previously held a certification and let that certification expire for 2024 only, because of the 60th anniversary, we are running the Diamond Project. That is where you can have your certification reinstated without having to fill out all that information. You would just need to fill out the application, send in the fee, and then you would have to include a resume or a letter to the committee explaining what you have been doing in the industry since your certification expired. They want to make sure that you've been keeping up. That's kind of the process with the recertification too, without having to take a test. They just want to make sure that you're keeping up with the industry, with the educational stuff, so that you don't have to take a test in order to clarify that you've been keeping up with the information and everything. But again, the Diamond Project is just running through the end of this year. I would say if you previously held a certification, you want it back, that is the way to go. But otherwise, our recertification program, I'm sending out another series of letters, so one might be going to you. If you have any questions ever, just always reach out. That's what I'm here for. Let me see, what do you see? Any questions that aren't written?
So I'm assuming that your certification would have had to have expired already or is going to this year to use that.
For the Diamond Project, it had to expire prior to 2023. So
Okay,
before January 2023 or earlier.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had a quick question, Megan. I think I contacted you a few months ago about somebody mentioned there was going to be an IP video and audio certification announcement, and I neglected to ask you, like, where the announcements for like new certifications and like changes to certifications actually are.
So, we are creating 2 new entry-level certifications. That might be what you're referring to. So we currently have our Certified Broadcast Technologist certification, which is broken out into a TV and radio. That includes RF and FCC questions. The 2 new ones will be, are called the Certified Production Technologist. And that will be broken into an audio or a video without FCC or RF questions. We will announce it when it is currently ready to have applications for it. Again, I'm waiting on some key questions from some volunteers to be able to enter those in to make it where we feel comfortable sending it out for people to test for. But again, I would hope by the November exams this year that it will be available for test taking then, and hopefully we will have a cert preview to go along with that too.
You
Does
just brought
that
up a
answer
good.
your question?
Go ahead, Elliot.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last thing you said.
Did that answer your question or?
Yeah, yes, it did. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
And for somebody who doesn't keep up with this, what is the significance of the time intervals during the year that you have these open times for certification? Because you give very specific dates. What prompts that?
No idea. That's how it always was, and we kept with that.
Okay.
When I started this, that's the date, the time period. It's usually a 10-day time period in those months, and it's always been in that area. I'm very flexible when it comes to that because I understand that 1, we're working with volunteers as the proctors, and 2, you have your own lives and everything taking the test. So you can't necessarily fit everything in that 10-day period with the proctor. So as long as it's okay with everyone involved to push it outside of those time periods, that's fine with me. I have found, maybe you guys have too, that broadcast engineers procrastinate a lot. So typically we need, sorry, typically, and I'm guilty of this too, we need a deadline in order to send in what you need to send in. So that's why we have a lot of notifications going into our recertification period, but that's why we have deadlines for our application period too. And the majority of the time I will receive the applications the 3 days prior to the exam ending, which our August exam session, the application deadline is tomorrow. So if anyone is interested in taking a test in that time period, send it in. I'll probably take it a couple days after that too, because inevitably I usually get an email or 2 asking if they still can. So, again, any questions?
I got a question.
See, go for it, Mike.
So we were just flipped right out of my head. Okay, the ends lectures, the end seminars, which are, day-long intensive technical seminar. How do they count to recertification as far as points go?
So I'm assuming you mean like the NS workshops?
Yeah, NS,
Specifically
that's right.
SBEs, yes. Those count as 1 credit per day in category G on the application. I think it's actually broken down to say NS workshop. So if you happen to attend a local NS workshop, or I know in Vegas this year at NAB, we did 2 tracks, and last year we did 2 tracks. So those would count 1 credit per day. If you attend NAB, that's 1 credit per day also. So that can add up, especially if you go multiple years in a row. But those are 1 credit per day. Webinars are 1 credit. SBE webinars are 1 credit. If you view webinars that are not ours, those are half credit. So we try and put a little bit more weight when it comes to that into our own webinars.
And if you want, you can use some of those questions I asked you earlier today, since people are asking about recertification and things like that in the email that I sent you.
Yes. How about Is there one that I did not answer on here? That you think
There
is
were
helpful?
some questions still in the chat. And then, hey, Raymond, would you care to tell us about your experience? You recently tested in our chapter, and and you asked a question, so go ahead.
Yeah, it'd be well, I've had 3 certifications now, but for the CBT and the entry level kind of ones, it'd be just a little, not really questions, just a little dream list. It'd be it'd be nice to know if you passed or failed if it was just multiple choice and not essay right away, and it was digital and not, you know, uh the old school way of taking the test on paper. Like if it was like on a website or you know, it'd be faster to get all the results back in. That's
I understand. I understand and I agree it would be faster. There are certain things that come with that. One is what is unique about SBE is our use of proctors. So it doesn't mean that you didn't have to go there to, if it was digital, you could still utilize our proctors. But you'd still have to go there in person. But then there's a whole different part of that by providing laptops and digital ways for the exam to be taking place. There's also a cost factor that goes into that as well.
Yeah.
And then if we don't utilize our own proctors, then having services that utilize proctors and vetting those as well. It's something that we've talked about a few times, and there's inevitably a few reasons why we haven't gone that route. It's 2024. We'll probably have the talk again. But all in all, our services at SBE, our membership and our certification program are very cost effective, especially certification. If you break that out into 5 years of holding it, doesn't cost very much at all compared to other certification programs out there. And part of that is still allowing us to do the things that we do this way. If we turn to a different form where it was all digital and not utilizing our own proctors, then the cost of that would definitely go up. So it's, again, something the committee has talked about quite a few times in the past, and it's something that they will continue to talk about too, and something might change. And we will let everyone know if it does. Go ahead.
It'd be nice to just avoid the postal service just anytime I could, you know.
I understand. Well, I mean, we do utilize, a long time ago, we didn't utilize the priority mail, and we do that now both ways, with tracking and everything, and it should be 2 to 3 days going quick.
But
Again, I'm the only one that's doing it here, so there are, you know, I'm doing a variety of other things too, but grading exams and getting the results out to everyone is something that I try and do fairly quickly.
well, there's a feedback survey at the end. Who gets that information? What's done with it?
It's put into, like, it just depends on what the information is, but it's usually brought to the committee at some point, depending on what the information is. If it's about a question that might be ambiguous or outdated or anything, then that usually goes to them a little bit quicker for them to review. If it's information like about going digital, then that usually is something that might be brought up and to the committee chairman and decided to go to the full committee or not. Then during one of their meetings, we typically do meetings in April and the fall. This year it'll probably be in September. But it just varies. Sometimes we do it depending on what the content is. We might have a committee meeting at other times during the year.
Yeah, and a lot of the questions on there were stuff we don't use anymore, like 10 base T, T1 lines.
And which exam was this?
This was CBNT and E.
Well, both of the, I mean, okay,
Yeah, if you look at the SBE preview, there's like questions to
again, Cert Preview, I would not totally take the whole thing from that.
Well,
Um,
just for me, the way I study is I usually take the Cert Preview and then I use AI. I go in and find my weak points and I use AI and I ask AI and it tells me what it is. I kind of write it down and study those portions, like a chatbot GPT and stuff like that.
mhm.
And then usually once my weak points are strong enough, then I just schedule a certification. I mean, that's my method.
Interesting. I have not heard
Yeah,
that before. I like that.
yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, the networking, both of those, the newest ones should be, I mean, again, I will send those out for review again, but they recently reviewed those and
yeah. I had to go back and ask AI about bridges and things. I couldn't remember collisions and things like that from long ago. But yeah, that's my only critique about the SB network ones.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would definitely have that sent out.
but yeah, that's all I got.
Uh, David said, does an SBE member qualify for recertification points? It does, or SBE mentor qualify, and it does. Being a mentor does and being a mentee does. It's just two different categories, but it's listed out on the recertification application. And if you email me separately, I can give you specifics about that. I'd have too much time to take up to try and figure out exactly how much. It's at least a credit, I believe. Sorry, I'm trying to use the wrong mouse for my laptop. The cost to recertify is the same cost as the initial certification, unless there's been a price change. There's a member and a non-member fee. The operator is $53 each, and then the CBT upwards is $59 for members, up to, I believe, $120, I think, for the CPBE, which I did not go into actually. That's our 20-year certification. If you previously hold if you hold a senior certification and you have 20 years of broadcast engineering experience, then you can apply for our CPBE certification. There's no exam. It is an application, letters of reference, a resume, and the application fee for that. And then it goes to the committee for their review and approval.
Hey, and recertification, is that just a matter of paying a fee and that's it, or do you test again? I didn't even think to ask.
No, sorry. The recertification is you can retest if you would like to, and there are some people that opt to do that. Or it is filling out the application, paying the fee. The application is the professional credits. If you hold the CBT, the CRO, or the CTO, then those don't have professional credits. That's filling out an application and showing that you've been working in the industry for 3 out of the last 5 years. So again, keeping up with everything. The operator ones also have a portion where their employer signs off on it.
Got it.
But yeah, so it's either retesting or filling out the application, whether it be a easier application or the one that includes the professional credits. And again, that's where after 5 years, it becomes hard to remember everything. So keeping track of things throughout that time is good.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to SBE's website and log in under your account and go to account info, and it shows you the recertifications at the bottom. Your points, what webinars you've taken and stuff.
Mike said, please clarify the requirements of category E in the recertification form, which is SBE membership. Is that correct? Where are you at?
Yeah, that's correct. I was looking at the application. It looks like category E and category G are kind of related as far as attending the meetings. So active membership, so if it's 5 years, 5 points. Do you double dip in category G for attending meetings, or can you double dip that way?
It's two different things.
Okay.
So membership you cannot attend chapter meetings and everything and still be a member and have those credits. So that's 1 credit per year. Again, 5 years if you've been a member the whole time. Also AES, IEEE, SMPTE, all of those, if you're a member of them also, you can count in there. There might be a cap on that category. I can't remember off the top of my head.
10
Then
credits.
in category G, did you say 10?
Yeah, 10
Okay.
credits.
In category G, that's where your SBE chapter meetings go in, your attendance at conferences or conventions, NS workshops, the SBE Web Extra we produce every month. That's available on our YouTube channel. You can go back on there and view those and list those as well. Those are, I believe, half a credit each. So those all count towards recertification credits.
Great, thank you.
How does the member plus factor into that? It's just the webinars from there count the
Yeah.
same, or
So if you're a member plus, $90 additional, and you have access to all of those webinars without paying for them individually. So if you need some credits, start watching some webinars. It's usually one of the easier ways to obtain them. Usually what happens is somebody will send in their application and they only have 3 categories, or they won't send in, they won't recertify because they don't think that they have the categories. But if you contact me, I can usually either find ways to obtain them or wreck your brain a little bit and find out that you did obtain some credits somewhere else. Your employment, if you're not a supervisor, that's 1 credit per year. If you're a supervisor, it's 2 credits per year. If you are, oh my gosh, words. If you are part of the chapter and chairman or one of the leaders at the chapter, those are worth 2 credits per year. So if you are going back to school and you have some continuing education credits, those are of value also. Same thing with if you do presentations somewhere, then that counts as well, or write papers.
Yeah, one quick question. I know this was mentioned a few minutes ago. Where exactly on the website can you go and see, where you did your webinars where it shows credits? Somebody just said that somewhere.
Yeah, Raymond, you said that it was if you go under your profile, I believe. And then that's listed there. I don't know if you have to manually put those in though or not. But you have to be logged in, go into your profile. I think sometimes you have to go back out, find yourself and go back in, and then it's shown there. I have instructions listed in my email that I can always send out if somebody's would like those.
Yeah, I don't see where I can update it, or I see where I can update the profile. So, okay. But I don't see where I can add certification information. I don't see anything under my profile.
Yeah, I will make a note and see if I can find that and send it out to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Sorry, I jumped around a lot, but I guess the big takeaway in my opinion, it would be don't be too scared. Just try it. You'll probably be surprised. But if you have any questions whatsoever, then ask me. And then if I don't know, I will usually reach out to one of our members to get the answer for you.
All right, well, great. I'm actually throwing in there today's webinar in the chat for anyone who wants to attend that, especially if you've got the membership plus. So this totally met my goal, 100%. You have demystified everything, and with the help of the rest of the group, hopefully anyone that's watching this recording will also have their answers. But I'll also have some links on our YouTube page as well. So thank you again, Megan. Really helpful.
Thank you for having me.